All right, FTE Nation, we are live. We've got a really nice show for today. I'm super excited to have David with me as always.
What's going on?
Yeah. And today we have Matt Connelly and Hallee Foster. And both of them are recognized as All-American athletes who are elites and both have two totally different backgrounds. And we're going to speak to them about how they came to Full Throttle, what they feel their best thing is. We may disagree or we may not.
I want to hear what you think.
and we would like to get some feedback on the things that we talk about. We got some really nice questions from you guys. Again, Maddie here is going to try to help us with somehow, some way, making it accessible for live questions while we're doing it, because that would be great if you guys could ask these guys questions, but that'll be for a show later on, I think.
Perfect. Do you want to open up your beverage before we start the show?
Oh yeah, and in fact, this is something that is a favorite of Maddie.
Oh, love it. I love it.
Wait, hold on one sec. If we're doing that,
You like it, Matt?
Get it? The only reason
as well,
I love Matt.
Oh, nice.
I'm actually the most recent ambassador joinee to the athletic team. So it's courtesy. Well, I've been thinking about it for a long time because Matt, as you know, I'm kind of obsessed with their beers. And then saw that Dixon posted something about being an ambassador, and I DM'd Dixon, was like, wait, how can you connect me with these people? So I had a call with them last week, and I'm now their newest spokesperson in the Rockies, which is exciting.
Whoa, very cool. We're going head to head, of course.
Yeah.
Right?
Which one are you guys drinking?
This is the Upside Dawn.
Mm.
So it's one of their IPAs, right? Or is it? No, it's a non-alcoholic golden. Tastes good.
Yeah, my favorite is blue IPA, but we don't have
you guys
any.
had this one? This is, if you like hazy IPAs, which is the only kind of beer I drink. This is the best one. It's the three-way double hop IPA. It's very much out of stock right now, but I ordered 3 cases when it was available, so I have a lot.
I found that as we started working from home, I was drinking my athletic beer like at lunchtime, just because I could.
Yeah, why not?
Great.
Matt,
yes,
what are you doing right now?
For you, so you can see it.
So just so we are talking to our sponsors here, we are running low, and we would like more cases sent out. More beer, please. More.
Real beer, right? Yeah. Alcoholic.
So Matt Connelly has been with us a little bit longer, and came to us. The one thing I'll say about both these guys, and I think it needs to be noted, is that neither one of them really came to us with a weakness, and that is not normal for the sport. I find this to be the most humbling sport because there are 3 disciplines, and to be able to swim and bike and run is not usually the case when you start this sport. And both of these guys, and they're both very humble, so they may not admit it, but neither one really had a weakness. And I think that's pretty impressive. But Maddie, your background, while you're a phenom swimmer, really wasn't swimming when you went to college, was it?
Yeah, so I started swimming my freshman year at Occidental College. So I swam from kindergarten all the way through, and was recruited for swimming. I stopped swimming after my freshman year, transferred to Loyola Marymount. And then I walked on my junior year to the rowing team. So rowing was, I always where I really found that I could kind of transfer the endurance mentality. It's just such it's such an aerobic sport, and the training that we do with rowing is really similar to triathlon, like sort of 80% aerobic steady state, 20% high end. So that gave me a real advantage in the bike. But I do not think I was strong in all 3. My running came so unnaturally to me. When I was a swimmer, I broke my feet 3 separate times or 2 separate times just because I had such low bone density.
Wow.
That took a while to build up, and it's definitely something that, something I had to work on. But yeah, rowing was definitely the best thing for transferring to cycling. And swimming gives you that edge, but I've tried to focus less and less on swimming. But
skull that you rode with?
What's that?
What was the amount of people in your skull? Were you doing 2, 4, 8?
I was in an 8. I was in the varsity 8. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So 6 pairs and 4s, but the 8 is the main focus.
Yeah, so for those people out there that actually don't know what crew is, and I'm not sure who that would be, but let's just make sure you know, right? You have 8 people, 4 on each side, powering your side. You're responsible, and then you have, what is the name of the person that sits and is telling you what to do?
Coxswain.
Yeah.
So we actually had a female coxswain in our men's boat, just because it's hard to find people who are under the 125 weight. And
I was going to say that's got to be because of weight.
Yeah, and they were just fantastic too. They're great coaches and mentor, inspiring and stuff.
All right, so I'm gonna ask a stupid question. They say there are no stupid questions, just people who ask them. How do you decide on which side you're on? Because you're still pulling from one side the entire time. Do you ever switch up and go to the other side, or your side is your side, your spot is your spot?
Yeah, it sort of depends on the coach. But when I was rowing it, you gravitate towards one side that you're a little bit stronger on. And I was on port, so I'm sort of rowing like to this side, leaning over. And it took me like a few months, maybe like even closer to a year, to even out my back because I was getting overdeveloped on my left side.
That's what I would think. I mean, that's why in swimming you eventually work on bilateral breathing, because you try to balance the muscularity, but it doesn't mean that you're going to stop when you race breathing to your strong side, right?
Yeah, and it helps on the erg when you're on the rowing machine, or just to balance everything out. So you do a lot of your training. We were training every day. Honestly, when I was looking for a program, for a triathlon program, full throttle was like the closest thing to what I was doing in college, which is why I really sought it out. Because I tried some other programs and really just didn't have the intensity that I had in college. That was key.
I think a cool thing for us to think about is we have our FTP test.
Yeah.
And the rowers it's your 2,000 meter test, right?
Yeah, 2K, yeah.
That's the most brutal tests.
Yeah, they say that rowers have the highest thresholds, obviously for pain, but also when they do
like VO2 max
testing.
Yeah.
So
it's good.
Here's a crew. That's not your background. So tell us a little bit about what it was that you excelled at before you found the sport of triathlon.
Yeah, I don't have people ask me that, what my kind of athletic background is, and the answer is that it's just kind of an eclectic mix of things. So I swam as a little kid from, I don't know, my parents put me in a pool probably the day after I was born. My mom was a really competitive swimmer and my dad was a triathlete, very active family. So I was always kind of doing something. So swam from age whatever to like 8, when my parents said that if I didn't like it, I could stop, and I really didn't like it. So I stopped swimming at 8. And then my biggest, I wouldn't even call this an athletic sport, which I know is kind of self-sabotaging, is horseback riding. So that was my biggest focus from age 8 through college. I was on the equestrian team at Brown, and I still ride, and I'm finding a barn in Colorado here shortly. So that kind of became my focus. But alongside of that, I played basketball as a kid, and then I resumed swimming in high school on the team, and missed some pretty critical years there, like 8 to 15, which is why I kind of say I have like half a swimming background, but not really. It was funny though, when I started swimming in high school, turned out I was a pretty natural breaststroker. So when I first started re-swimming, my 100 breast time was faster than my 100 free time for a minute.
That is incredible, considering it's the slowest.
Crazy. I was on the varsity IM for breaststroke, but was like probably the slowest free stroke swimmer on my entire high school team. It was pretty funny.
Now, you said your mom was a competitive swimmer, but I think that you're kind of downplaying that. She was incredible.
Yeah, my mom was Olympic backstroker on the 1980 team, which unfortunately was the team that was supposed to go to Moscow, but was boycotted because of something political, Jimmy Carter and Afghanistan and troops and things. Maybe was it Afghanistan? I don't know. Anyways.
So let's say that minimum, it's in your genes.
Yeah.
It is in the genes, but it's funny. My dad is not Olympic decorated, but he's a super freak. He was on a ski team and a track team and was a triathlete and is one of those guys who can pick up any sport overnight and do it well. So I guess long story short, riding was like the focus, riding horses was the focus, but alongside that, I've always been an active kid, was swimming, was playing basketball. And then after college, my first like 4-ish years in New York, I was just kind of like an Equinox rat. I was just there all the time. And my brother is actually an Equinox cycling instructor. So I would do his classes, you know, the gamified ones that like compare you and like all the stats and stuff. Yeah. So I just like did that very passionately for like 4 years, which I think kind of built up a biking base that I like, didn't know that I had. And then this early 2019, my brother and I both were like, let's do a triathlon for fun. Like, why not? So we did that Montauk race. That was the first race that either of us did. He took it significantly less seriously. Like he was wearing Ray-Bans and swim trunks the whole time. And I self-trained a bit, but nothing like now that I've been under the full throttle protocol and now Ray's protocol, like that was not training. What I was doing before was not training. But had such a good time in that race and, you know, did better than I expected having not trained. So for me, the draw to triathlon is, you know, working out for a reason versus just being a gym rat for the sake of, you know, lifestyle. And then also, I think what's still driving me is a sense of curiosity with my parents' backgrounds and like being a little bit obsessed with anything I do. Like, what does the ceiling look like for me? And I think I have no idea what that is yet still. So
yeah, I think that first of all, for your first race to get 4th overall female, it's pretty good. So
pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. Let's start with that. Secondly, for those of you who don't know it, Hallee has decided to leave the tri-state area, and she is now in Colorado, which is where we are talking to her now. So certainly you're in the mecca of triathlon, and you will have great people to train with. So what is your focus now? You're going to stay with short course, or you are going to move into the 73 Ironman category?
I think it really depends on what this season ends up looking like, you know, racing wise. My plan was focus on short course, do 4 or 5 Olympic races. My physical therapist may disagree with me on whether it's 3 or 5. Olympic races through nationals, and then do a 70.3 kind of like for fun in the fall to see how I do with the longer distance, because the swimming, I don't think will bother me longer distance, or the bike. I'm newest to the run of all 3 sports. So running 13 miles comfortably without pain and physical therapy issues has been a challenge. But I don't know. I mean, I'd be curious what you guys think, how this season is going to pan out, if at all. I give nationals a 50-50 shot at this point, maybe. And then, so that would be great. And then after that, I hope to do the 70.3 in Santa Cruz in September.
So Maddie, she's throwing it out to all of us. So I'll throw it to you first. Obviously, the Olympics have been moved a year. So that's not going to happen. The start date for that, I believe, was about the same time that we would have been looking at USA Team Nationals, right?
Yeah.
And which I believe will also be canceled. What do you think the likelihood that there is a racing season, given that the governing body is a part of USA for the Olympics?
I think that's a tough one, because I think part of the Olympic pushback, and from what I was reading, was that athletes weren't being able to train anymore, especially with swimming. USA Swimming was one of the first ones that said we need to push it X, Y, and Z. So there's like half, we put the world on hold, people aren't training, it's not fair to do it. Half of it that it's a global pandemic, we can't have people together.
Sure.
So I think that it'll just come down to, I mean, even with work, I'm done trying to predict when we're going to be going back and when it's going to return to normal. But I think there's a greater chance that nationals happens, that races happen in August, as long as life is starting to go back to normal. But they wouldn't pull it because amateurs aren't able to train as well as they could have.
Right.
But, you know, Edmonton right now is the only race I have. Like I'm doubtful that in the beginning of June we're going to be having any races, maybe Jersey State. But that being said, it's kind of been fun just like training for fun. I mean, there's not many times you get to do this. Like I'm just going out there
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be able to go outside and run in the woods and enjoy nature. I think a big thing with the
really
so much that goes on behind the scenes in terms of organization. If everyone is quarantining and staying at home, then nobody can actually prepare for the amount of people that are going to show up at the Olympics.
Well, that's a good point. That's what I think that's the issue with the two races you guys are talking about. Yeah. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that somehow, some way, we are back to week work for June 1, which is what I tentatively had predicted. You get ready to race by racing. You know, both of you know that. Maddie, you know that even.
I've been thinking about that. Yeah.
Big race schedule, and that's
best race.
But to your point, you know, you're talking about the USA Nationals. You have to deal with flights and logistics for the bike and booking the hotels in Milwaukee. And it's the same thing for Edmonton. So how are they going to open up the coffers, expect everybody to throw all this money out, not knowing what's going to happen? I mean, you know, we just canceled South Beach. We just canceled Mallorca. You know, we're still not sure about the monies that are coming back on the Mallorca trip in full because Spain is in a meltdown. I would be shocked if we race in 2020. I really would.
Yeah.
And I also think that they don't want to take the responsibility. I mean, listen, you two, David, myself, I think could be four of the healthiest human beings possible in the big schematic of how healthy are people. Why would USA Triathlon or the world governing body want to take a chance, host a race, invite people to come in from all over the world when you still have to have age categories above 60?
Yeah.
Right? It's problematic.
Yeah, and there's no way to run a triathlon in a socially distanced, thoughtful way. And I've been brainstorming this because think about the beginning of a swim. Like you are shoulder to shoulder with 30 to 50 people in your wave. And then there's registration and all those things. I mean, after registration, after the start of the swim, you better keep 6 feet on the bike. And the run, chances are you're not going to be that close to people. But I just can't see them. I think if we're back to work in June, if businesses are open in July, but I can't see them sanctioning like mass recreational elective events like in the next.
I mean, it might be the first nationals that they're not drafting yet. That'll be the only positive, but I'll leave that for
I know that David and a big group are working on how to Zwift race the Worlds. I'm not a part of that crew, but I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, Ironman just started virtual racing. So you had Miranda Carfree, you had Patrick Langda, and you had all of them racing this weekend. And then you had Lionel Sanders, who went on Zwift and raced against Matthew Vanderpool, who's like the 4-time world champion in cyclocross. So you have people now racing online. So maybe that's just a new normal for the year.
Are both of you guys on Zwift?
No, I'm actually not anymore. I like just staring at my Garmin computer and looking at watts.
There you go. Watching a movie.
I was during the winter, but as soon as it gets sunny out, I cancel my subscription. But now I'm back on it. But
Maddie, I got to tell you, I could not, to your point, be more in your camp. I cannot stare at an avatar and act like I'm.
But you've never tried it.
It's fair. I have not tried it.
It's nice during the winter. Yeah.
Wait, you prefer a wall to an avatar though? If you're gonna bike inside,
I prefer riding in the weather, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Even if, well, not all of us have gravel bikes. I should get a gravel bike.
It's not
by the way,
it's not raining.
I know. Everyone and their mother here has a mountain bike or gravel bike. I'm really behind the curve on that one.
Yeah. You would love it. You would love it. Absolutely love it. And you're unbelievably coordinated, arguably one of the most coordinated people with your sports background. You would live for it.
It's a bit like
because you have to be on point. You know, too many times when you're out just riding your bike, especially now where you're riding a lot of miles alone, you just start daydreaming, and then they become junk miles. Whereas in the gravel, you're always thinking about, oh, I'm going to miss that route, or I am in the trees. You know, it's like trail running. It really is, and trail running is fun. Running on the road for me is not fun.
You have one of the most iconic mountain bike races of all time in Colorado, the Leadville 100.
That's right.
Yeah, here.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. Do it, girl.
Oh, do it.
Do it.
She's talking about physical therapy.
I kind of like training for the sake of training. I agree with Matt, but I don't know about you guys. I miss the pool more than I thought possible. Like when I see water, my heart starts aching a little bit.
I disagree. And Matty and David and I are going to take advantage of my boat just went in the water, and we will be in that water no matter what in about 4 weeks.
I was going to ask you, what's the temperature then?
Well, I'm going to tell you,
50.
when I pushed the boat in yesterday, you have to get off, and set everything up. I couldn't feel below my knees after about 5 seconds. It was freezing.
The small lakes in our area are 49, 50 degrees right now.
No, it's cold. Maddie, what's your focus going to be? I mean, let's say for the sake of argument that 2020 is gone, and I'm going to say that it is. What's your focus for 2021? You have your racing career for someone your age is absolutely ridiculous. You've won the Mighty Montauk, one of the most iconic races. You've won Stanford. You've won many races given your age. Where do you go from here? Do you stay short course and still try to get faster, or do you try to take this longer?
Yeah, it's funny because my plan was Worlds, so we'll see if that happens, and doing as best as I can and saying, I ended up at this place in my age group in the world, which I think would be really cool. And it's still a possibility. I qualified for Boston last November. So the plan was after that, start training for Boston from October into March and hopefully get a good time at Boston and show up there. And I think that kind of naturally led me into wanting to do 70.3 in the following year. I'll get up to Ironman distance, and I kind of already do 70.3 training now. I've raced cycling for a year and a half. I do those long rides. I do the long runs on the weekend with some of the marathon training I was doing over the last year. So stepping up and going to 70.3, I just think it'd be fun, just a new challenge, but not so much. I'm not quite ready for the Ironman distance yet. I think I'm going to save that until my 30s.
Well, lucky for you, it's not going to go anywhere, so it's always going to be there. So the people that rush to do it, I continuously tell them, learn how to race fast, short. Yeah. And a few guys followed it, but it was just rebought back into the U.S. And we happened to have 2 full throttle athletes that were a part of that equity fund that bought. So we have one of our guys on the board there. So Ironman will be there for a while. I forgot, and I shouldn't have, but I did forget that you were one of a half a dozen guys that did qualify for Boston and break the 3-hour mark for the marathon. So I got to go back at you from your earlier statement. For someone who wasn't a good runner to now go sub 3 and qualify for Boston, that's hard work.
Yeah, I mean, I worked my ass off, and the coaching that we have and the specific Tuesday track workouts that Ray's been running. I mean, we have some smart coaching, and again, I'm just saying that because I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for the program that we have. I mean, my running was that bad. So, yeah, it was great. I mean, qualifying for Boston, going sub 3, and we had a crew of guys this year too, that just crushed the marathons, which is a testament to like how strong. I mean, you can take triathletes and put them in the marathon and put them on these other courses. It's like what we're hearing is it's just so much more than just one sport, right? Obviously.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. In fact, when I look at, and I said this to David in our first episode, on this team, the first 5 in almost every age group, with the exception of very few, they could win their division at any race. And then you guys have a group that all set out to do this marathon running. Same rules applied. You had guys that just broke 3, then got a little faster than 3, then even faster, then sub 250, and then you got Michael Conroy, who went 241, I believe. I mean, you guys were just beastly in the off season of triathlon working on running.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, it was it was a mental confidence booster too. I was like, if I can knock out a marathon, then, my training in the spring, I had a half on the books 2 weeks ago before the world ended. I just knew it was going to set me up. It's like getting out of your comfort zone, doing things like that. It was something that was always in swimming. Like I had a coach that, Ellen Johnson from Westport, I'll give her a shout out. She gave us the hardest sets. I mean, like we're talking 8x800, descending at a really strong pace, 10,000 IMs over Christmas. But like, if you can do those kinds of things, it just makes everything else so much easier,
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's, we were alluding to that, that this is a team that loves to race. And in fact, when we don't have races, we make up races. We do trial by fire. We do trial by fire relay. We do whatever we can. And even while this is going on, you had David Martin here in Connecticut, as well as Dixon, Mateo, and Jeff Schleppe.
Right,
Piers all do the 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. I mean, this team loves to race.
I love to sleep, so I'm never going to do stuff like that.
Well, I don't disagree with that, and I don't want to run 48 miles in 48 hours. But I want to get to one more thing that it's a little segment we call "Let's Talk About the Elephant in the Room." And the elephant in the room for this episode, we'll go to Hallee first. So, you guys both, again, your athleticism is off the charts. Okay, and no one's going to argue that you guys have nowhere come near what I think is going to be your end-all, be-all top end. I think you guys have a long, long career, as long as you want to have it. Both of you have gone off course on way to a win.
Is that why we're both here? Is that why it's the two of us?
Oh!
Is this a theme?
And so,
Getting on
so
course.
we'll go to you first. So your first race, Montauk, 4th overall. Everybody knew that you were peaking for the Mighty Hamptons. You were beastly. And from Sam Martini's mouth, who is maybe the second most technical guy to Bill Kelly on our team, you were going to win that race by 10 minutes. Talk to me about going off course.
Oh man, I don't even know where to start other than saying that will be a mistake I make once and only once. It's funny because so I did Montauk in June, that was the first race, then the Mighty Hamptons race, and then Montauk again, which is, I don't know if it's exactly the same bike course, but it's pretty similar. And not only did I have the course in my Garmin, I drove it the day before, and I still went off course. And though obviously it's my responsibility, but they're running 3 distances concurrently in that September race. So their sprint, Olympic, half. I think I was 3rd out of the water, got ahead on the bike. So it was kind of up with the sprinters almost, who didn't have to make the right turn that I did. Course wasn't well marked. My dad actually, we can phone him in for this, was driving alongside the course, like screaming at me, telling me where I was, like position wise. It was hilarious. And he said there are no marshals, whatever, at the course. So I just kept on going. I was very focused on like my wattage. I also ate way too much for this race. So it was really like uncomfortable the whole time. So I was distracted by that. Anyways, missed that turn. And it wasn't something that I realized immediately. I didn't realize until I got to what I thought was T2 and looked down at my Garmin and was like, why have I only biked 15 miles? And by that point,
wait, so your Mighty Hamptons off course is on the bike.
Mighty Hamptons, I didn't go off course. Montauk, it was on the bike. So I missed a turn on the bike. And by the time I figured out what had happened, it was too late. And, as you remember, I went through like all of the stages of grief that week after. I almost got on a flight you remember this? I walked in your office. I was like, it was Wednesday. I was like, Scott, should I put myself and my bike on a plane and go do this Vegas triathlon that has 3,000 feet of elevation gain on the bike within 25 miles? And I think you looked at me and you go, even I think that's crazy.
Yes,
So,
I do.
It was hard, and it was a hard way to end the season, and I didn't even really have a full season. Like I had one kind of trial race, one really great race, and then 2/3 of what was supposed to be a good race, because the girl that won the race was 2 minutes behind me on the bike at the point that I went off course. So, right. And now compound that with the fact that we might not have a season means that if I don't race until 2021, that'll be the first race since going off course, which is just a reality that's hard for me to wrap my brain around, but here we are.
Well, as much as you will have many opportunities to do that in your first season, to go 4th overall, 1st overall, and most likely would have been 1st overall because you weren't going to flat on the run, I think it's a pretty good first year.
And I feel like you have to give yourself some credit because the best athletes on the team have all gone off course. Timmy, yes. Didn't Timmy also go off course?
And Timmy went off course 2 years in a row on the same course in exactly the same way. So it happens. And Maddie, your off course, and I'll let you talk about it, was not on the bike.
Yeah, and it was on the run, and it was in the Montauk RJ Memorial Montauk in June 2018. And I had done the fall prior. I had done the Mighty Montauk. So I had that course in my mind, and there's one turn that's on the old course, on that course, and I was in second. I was chasing a guy down, so I didn't have the police escort, which helped a lot. So when I did it the other year, I planned to drop everybody, stay in first, so I had that escort. But back to the year I went off course. Yeah, so I was just chasing this guy down. I blacked out, and after that happened, I mean, you can't, it's going to happen to everybody, and you're either going to get a flat or you're going to go off course. But I like, Bill Kelly, quote him again, what he says, like, it's shit's always going to happen. Like, you can't take it too seriously. Like, you got to brush it off. And that was really like, Ray said this. He's like, it was kind of your sophomore year of triathlon. It was my second year, like, and I had started a new job. Like, I had a lot of things going on, and I wasn't all the way there. And it was obviously a reflection in the racing, but, I made sure as hell that would never happen again. And I took steps towards that.
And to your credit, you rallied and you came back stronger and better and even more focused, and you won the Mighty Montauk.
Yeah, no,
right?
that win was sweet. A year ago.
Yeah,
awesome. Merle told me I had something.
And I think one of the biggest things that people have to understand, and this is critically important, is that I have said so many positive things and given you guys so many accolades. If two of the best athletes on this team have gone off course for overall wins, everyone's got to understand that mistakes happen. And it bothers me a lot when people have issues with that. I mean, I think that the easiest thing to do is just own that the mistake happened. Nobody's perfect. We're doing this at an amateur level, having fun, and let it go. To hold on to these things and make yourself crazy and somehow go into a depression is nuts. I mean, I should have had another person on this, Gary Stark. I mean, I think he had 3 off courses in 3 races.
He's the best athlete on the team. He may not be the best triathlete, but he's gone further than us all.
Yeah,
that's true.
So he, my Gary story is we're doing that charity race, which is that David won last year, and I had won it 4 years earlier. And I am coming in on the run, and Gary's going out on the run with some of the other elites. And I said, "What are you doing? Like, this is in full stride." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "You did one loop on the bike." He goes, "No, I didn't. And then I saw his face go, "Yes, I did." And it happens, and that's it.
He was so great to watch that race. He was so excited to be there. He was so happy. He won his age group at that race, didn't he?
I think that was his big race.
I think he was the one person in his age group, and he was so excited, and he's a fun guy.
It is the great part.
I can't thank you guys enough for giving me some time. I know that you're in a different time zone. Not that you have big plans tonight because you are in quarantine. But Hallee, thank you for coming on, and Maddie, thank you for coming on.
Wait, do you guys have 5 minutes to answer some of AJ's questions? Because I think a lot of the athletes would love to hear some of these things. Do you have 5 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, so just really quickly, we'll start with Hallee. Can you just talk about what you like to take in for nutrition during the race or leading up to the race morning? Then we'll go to Maddie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still new enough to this sport that those things I'm still dialing in, and plan to have, a lengthy conference call with Ray about that before my next race. But what I've done the last few times is get as many carbs on board the day before the race, wake up at 2 hours before the swim, eat oatmeal, nothing else. And then, oatmeal, banana, peanut butter. I mean, it's kind of what I eat every day for breakfast, honestly. Never gets old. And then I have a goo at each transition. That's what I've done in the past, and worked pretty well. As of January, I'm entirely plant-based now, which is an aside, but has been really great. And I actually think showed some dividends in my training, which is cool.
Oh, interesting. Okay, make sure you get your leucine so you meet your leucine threshold, 2.5 grams per meal.
All right, I'll take that into account.
Amino acids.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's honestly the same camp. Something light the night before. balanced protein like salmon, and some rice, vegetables, but eat earlier on the earlier side, like 4 or 5, and eat a ton. Morning, some sort of processed carb, like a white rice and an egg, but eat as early as I can. But I find that something that's like a whole food as opposed to something more processed or something like a bar, just sits with me a little bit better, and I feel like I have a little more energy on the bike.
Yeah.
Ton of coffee and 1 goo on the bike, 1 before the race, and then 1 maybe during the run if I can stomach it, but I usually can't.
You do goos?
I only do 1 goo,
Yeah.
but remember, I while I have gone long course, it's
1 or 2.
And so
Shit, looks like we're cutting out.
Oh, you froze?
Oh yeah, Maddie
Oh
froze.
no.
Yeah, Maddie's the one frozen.
That's all right. So I just go 1 goo, but I have all those stored calories already, in
Because you're such a big guy.
because a big guy. No, because in short course, you have 2 hours of glycogen stored anyways.
Yeah. And then how about we really quickly talk about favorite equipment? So like a shoe, running shoe. So Hallee, do you have a running shoe or a favorite piece of equipment that is your go-to?
I've been running in New Balance Fresh Foams for the last 1.5 years, which I have no complaints about, but I'm new enough to running that I haven't really tried that many different shoes. Cycling, I have a Canyon, which I love. And I just think it looks great. So that's and I wear a lot of Rafa stuff. So I can tap in on my free latte a day for the Rafa membership. So Rafa, New Balance, and Canyon are kind of my 3 at the moment.
I think New Balance is starting to catch up with Nike. They just came out with a carbon fiber shoe. I think Des Linden wore it in Boston last year, but nobody really knew that she was wearing the new prototype. Is Maddie with us at all right now, or is he totally gone?
He froze up, but that's okay. Maddie, thank you again for joining us. I'm so happy that we did this, and I hope that everybody's got a better sense of who you guys are, because my goal during our quarantine is to make sure that lane 6 knows lane 1, and lane 2 knows lane 4, and lane 5 knows everybody, because I cannot stand when I say someone's name and somebody doesn't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, and if any of you guys find yourself in Boulder, come do some altitude training with me. It's really fun.
Oh, perfect.
By the way, as soon as everybody's under quarantine, your house is going to be full, I assure you.
I know. It'll be great.
Yeah, enjoy yourself. Well, thank you.
See you guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.